Hey guys, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jon Pedrosa and I'm a clinical psychologist in private practice in the Dunvegan, Edenvale area. I just wanted to speak about something today that I think is quite important. We often see in society this notion of unconditional love. What does unconditional love really mean? So I have my own perspective about this. I don't really understand unconditional love, maybe in terms of how the general public understands it or how this term is often thrown around. I'd like to just start today by talking a little bit about unconditional love and what I think it means, actually. If we think about ourselves as human beings, we can often consider the fact that, and when I say fact, I mean fact that we all have different experiences, we are all unique, we all come from different backgrounds. We can call it baggage if you like, or we all have these things about ourselves. Perhaps within ourselves, even we have these bad parts and good parts that perhaps make us who we are, as well as other people have those too. So, in my mind, if we think about being born, even, if you're a baby being born, you'll be born crying. Or if you're not crying, the doctor will spank you to make you cry, to induce crying. My point is that internal conflict is inevitable. In other words, we all have experiences. We can all experience trauma at some point. When we say trauma and we use the notion of trauma, what we're referring to is the inability to perhaps use fight or flight responses. If you're in a moment where you cannot use a fight or flight response, you experience a sense of trauma. So trauma can be different for everybody, but everybody experiences it at some point. So if we accept this as a fundamental, inevitable human condition, in my mind, it seems that accepting this as a human condition unconditionally, in other words, imagine a puzzle for a second. If we don't accept the human condition unconditionally, and there's conditions regarding the human condition, that means that we're overlooking parts of the puzzle and denying them in some way. So if we punctuate off understanding this within ourselves and others, then what we're left with is we have these, say, bad parts and good parts that I mentioned. The task of the human experience mostly is to incorporate these and to integrate them in a way that we have a whole sense of self. It's almost a contrast in some way. I know in society, most people like to look at things as positive and negative, but let's reframe that and just look at positive and negative, good and bad, as just human experience. In other words, you cannot know hot if you haven't felt cold. There's a contrast there. If we accept this and become a whole sense of self, that means that we would have to accept that the human condition is inevitable. In other words, other people have bad parts of themselves as well. I have bad parts of myself that I don't like maybe, but that I have to incorporate within the sense of self to develop that whole self. So when we're talking about unconditional love, the way I understand it, or what I'd like to propose, is perhaps looking at it that we accept this fundamental, inevitable human condition unconditionally. In other words, we understand that this is the way human beings are, and that every person has a part of themselves that maybe they don't like, or maybe others don't like. That to me seems what unconditional love is. Now, if we think about love as being a being in itself, most people say love is pain, love hurts. Love does not hurt. It's almost like if I put a gun on the table, the gun doesn't kill people. People kill people by picking up the gun. The gun has no meaning to that, if that makes sense. So it almost seems to me that unconditional love is accepting the fundamental human condition unconditionally, and that means in others too. Relationships, however, have conditions. There may be psychological mutual boundaries in the relationship. Perhaps in this relationship, we don't engage in infidelity, maybe as an example. So I really just wanted to clarify. I've gotten a lot of requests and people asking me, what is unconditional love? And does unconditional love hurt? And doesn't it? This is really my view of what I think unconditional love is. So I hope you guys can engage and give me your thoughts. And very interesting and fascinating topic. And chat to you guys soon.